Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Param varishtham brahmishtham paramanandarupinam Paramarthanandayatim sadgurum pranatosmyaham. Vasudevendra yogindram natva jnanapradam gurum mumukshunam hitarthaya Tattvabodho bhidhiyate. So where are we in the text? We've completed the fourfold qualifications required for a spiritual seeker, sadhana chatushtayam. We have understood, right, I as a mixture of Atma and Anatma, Vyashti Vicharaha, the individual analysis we did. Then we came to creation, Samashti Vicharaha, and then we are now seeing the details of Jiva, Ishwara and Jiva, Ishwara, Aikyam. Bhagini, you can chant after me. Sthula sharirabhimani jivanamakam brahma pratibhimbam bhavati.
Sthula sharirabhimani jivanamakam brahma pratibhimbam bhavati.
Saeva jiva prakritya swasmadishwaram bhinnatvena janati.
Saeva jiva prakritya swasmadishwaram bhinnatvena janati.
Avidyopadis sannatma jiva ityuchyate.
Avidyopadhis sannatma jiva ityuchyate.
Mayopadis sannatmeshwara ityuchyate. Sannishwara asti yatra. Tatra Sannishwara asti. Sat Ishwara. One second. Sannishwara. One second, let me check the text also. Correct. It's a mistake in the text. Okay. Mayopadis sannishwara ityuchyate.
Mayopadhis sannishwara ityuchyate.
Evam upadhibeda jiveshwara bheda drishtir yavat paryantam tishtati.
Evam upadhibeda jiveshwara bheda drishtir yavat paryantam tishtati.
Tavat paryantam janma maranadi rupa samsaro na nivartate.
Tavat paryantam janma maranadi rupa samsaro na nivartate.
Tasmat karanat na jiveshwarayor bheda buddhi svikarya.
Tasmat karananna jiveshwarayor bheda buddhi svikarya.
Okay, those of you who didn't note, this part, Mayopadihi Sannishwara Ityuchyate. In case you're using a printout of the PDF, there is a mistake in the PDF. There it is Sannatmeshwar, that has to be changed to Sannishwara. This part. The PowerPoint slide is correct, so there's no problem. So in this portion, the author is presenting the fourth and most important topic of Tattvabodha, namely Jiva Ishwara Aikyam. And any sentence in the scripture which reveals the Jiva Ishwara Aikyam is called a Mahavakyam. And therefore, the topic is called Mahavakyam. Otherwise, basically, Jiva Ishwara Aikyam. And you would see that in any group, I don't know whether you see these days, there would be a few people who revere this Vakyam so much, which means that they really understand the meaning of Tattvabodha, Aham Brahmasmi, etc. Okay. So the topic is Jiva Ishwara Aikyam. And here the author is speaking about Jiva and Ishwara before coming to Aikyam. So every living being is called a Jiva, whether it is a human being or whether it is an animal or whether it is a plant or whether it is a celestial, any living being is called a Jivaha, and Ishwaraha means God. So both of them are defined in this portion, and the relationship between them is also revealed, right? And it's a very profound topic. So we were seeing the definitions of Jiva and Ishwara. Jiva also consists of three portions. Ishwara also consists of three portions. And what are the three portions of Jiva? We saw this. The three bodies, right? Called the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. So these three put together is one portion. And similarly, on the other side, you have the gross world, subtle world, and causal world, right? So the three bodies by themselves are inert, and we are experiencing that when we see that the body actually has consciousness, right? But it does not obviously have consciousness of its own because they are inert by their composition. So the consciousness is borrowed from the Atma. This borrowed consciousness we are naming as RC, right? So the three RCs here. So like the moon enjoying borrowed light, borrowed from the Surya, right? So why do we say moonlight is borrowed? Because moon doesn't have its own light and it is actually the reflected light, right? So similarly, the three bodies have got borrowed consciousness, which has been named RC, and the three bodies are called RM, reflecting medium. So thus three bodies are RM and the borrowed consciousness is RC. And the borrowed consciousness will have gradation depending on the type of body. In human body, the awareness is very high. In animal body, it is relatively lesser. It is not as sensitive as the human body. When you go to a plant body, it is still grosser. Therefore, reflected consciousness is not uniform. It is graded depending upon the gradation or the fineness of the RM. And even in the human being itself, we are bright in the afternoon, dull in, post, like towards the evening, say after a sumptuous lunch, right? Morning, we are still brighter, right? And then night, we become even duller. So we talk about sattvic mind, rajasic mind, tamasic mind, right? So the awareness has got fluctuation. So therefore, the borrowed consciousness is subject to difference and gradation. So RM is one portion of the Jiva, right? So basically, RM is one portion of the Jiva on the top. RC is another portion of the Jiva. And then OC, right? So the third most important portion is the original consciousness, which is lending this reflected consciousness. So, right? And then we also gave it two names, you might remember. Atma is one name and Brahman is another name. OC is basically the term that we are using to refer to it so that it's easy. OC, original consciousness, right? And we saw that OC is not located, RC is located. OC is basically all pervading, which pervades the individual body, mind, sense complex. Wherever body is there, in that place, RC is also there and OC is also there. The only difference between RC and OC is when the RM is destroyed, right? The reflecting medium, right? Because the reflecting medium is destroyed, the reflection cannot happen. So RC will be destroyed. Whereas OC will continue even when the RM is not there. Whether when RM is there or not, OC will definitely continue. Thus, every individual is a mixture of three portions, RM, RC and OC. And that reflecting medium itself, as we saw, is subdivided into three. Right? This portion is the Sthula Shariram, the gross body, Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body, and Karana Shariram, the causal body. Right? And basically, of these three portions of the Jiva, two portions are finite and perishable out of the RM, RC, and OC. If you see, out of the three portions, two are perishable. Which are the two? RM is finite, RC is finite, whereas OC is all pervading. Right? So, whenever we use the word I, we should remember that there are three components. Right? Similarly, Ishwara has got three portions. And what are the three portions? Sthula Prapancha or gross universe, right? And then Sukshma Prapancha or the subtle universe, and the Karana Prapancha or causal world, right? So all three put together is Ishwara. And of course, there is a second portion of Ishwara, which is the all-pervading consciousness, which pervades the universe and makes the universe function in an organized manner, obeying not only the natural laws, but also the laws of karma, right? So why have I got a particular body? It is a body that I deserve as per the law of karma, right? So, and our bodies die at different times. Some people have got very smooth and comfortable death. They even say bye and just go away in half a second, right? So, but some people have very torturous experience. So all these differences are not accidental, but they are all governed by the law of karma. And all these universal laws are maintained by the consciousness principle, which is pervading the universe, which is called RC in the universe. So universe is RM, that is also having an RC, right? And as long as the universe is there, RC will be there. And once the universe is not there, the RC will also get resolved, right? The OC will continue always. So Ishwara also has three portions: RM, the macro universe, RC, the consciousness reflected in the universe, and OC, the original. Thus, RM plus RC plus OC on this side is Ishwara, right? So similarly, we saw Jiva. The only difference is Jiva, RM and RC are micro, and in Ishwara, RM and RC are macro, right? So this whole thing that I just completed needs a lot of reflection and assimilation. It is not that easy, right? Because it is totally new. We are seeing this concept for the first time maybe in our lives, some of us, right? So the author says, of these three portions, which one is my original and superior nature? Of these three portions, which is RM, RC and OC. OC portion alone is original and superior. Why? Because it is always there. Whereas RM, the body is subject to arrival and departure. So now if you had seen the trailer of this Tattvabodha, this is exactly how I had introduced the subject. In the Bhagavad Gita second chapter, Lord Krishna compares our physical body to what? Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. Such a profound verse, right? In the very beginning of the second chapter, 22nd verse, right? Just as the cloth you're wearing will gradually fade, right? It will have wear and tear. You will discard and buy another one, and you're never unhappy. In fact, you're happy that you're going to buy a new cloth. Similarly, the physical body is also a cloth. You have taken it at the time of birth, and at the time of death, you're only discarding this temporary body and assuming another body. So this body, like cloth, is subject to taking on and taking off. Therefore, the body you should use all right, but don't think that it is your real nature. Therefore, never get over attached to the body. Taking care is one thing, pampering is another, but getting overly attached, right? So body is not my real nature. The subtle body is also not my real nature. It will have, yes, a longer life. That also I will discard at the time of pralayam. Similarly, karana shariram also is not permanent. Even that I will discard at the time of liberation or moksha. Thus, at each level, right, the reflections are dropping. I drop aram. Therefore, the RC will also go away. All of these are droppable temporary aspects. You use them. But remember that all of them are not your real nature. So, therefore, learn to claim the OC alone as the real nature, which was defined earlier. What was that? Stula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha, Atma definition. Panchakoshatitaha san Avastatraya Sakshi Sachidananda Swarupaha san Yaha Tishtati Saha Atma. Right? And Lord Krishna actually starts this teaching at a very, very high level, Bhagavad Gita, that to where in the battlefield. It is the basically 2:11 is the first verse, the 11th verse of the second chapter is the first verse where Lord Krishna starts the teaching. Because until then it is Arjuna who is, crying about so many things. And finally, in verse 7, he says, Shishyasteham Shadhimam Twam Prapannam. Until Arjuna asked for the teaching, Krishna never volunteered, right? So it is immediately after that, such a high philosophy Krishna introduces, assuming that most of these are understandable by maybe the kind of people who existed at that time who understood all of this, right? But subsequently, Krishna goes on to explain also, right? So may you understand the OC and learn to claim that OC as I am. So the entire spiritual journey is shifting the meaning of the word from RM and RC to OC. Like in the ocean, imagine that it is sentient. So the wave can claim, I am wave, or it can say, I am water. Which one is correct? When it claims, I am a wave, it will be worried about its arrival 1 minute and its departure another minute as it's going to the shore, right? Once it reaches the shore, the wave is no more a wave, right? A wave becomes mortal, right? So now, if the wave knows to claim I am water, it can say I am immortal, right? Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. If the wave knows that it is water and can claim that I am the water. So how do I travel from mortality to immortality? It's not a physical travel. Basically, it's a journey of wisdom. Instead of claiming my superficial nature, I learned to claim my real nature. Superficial nature is called ahankara and the real nature is called atma. So shifting from ahankara to atma is the spiritual journey, just as the OC is the real nature of Jiva. So the real nature of Ishwara, right? OC is the real nature of Jiva as well as Ishwara, right? And God also has got 3 portions, right? So as I said, Aram in the 3 portions of the Stula Prapancha, the Sukshma Prapancha and Karana Prapancha. So, and reflections pervade the 3 and OC. Then you ask, what is the real nature of God, right? So the answer should not be this RM or RC or anything. It is OC, which is the original consciousness. So what is Jiva's real nature? OC. What is Ishwara's real nature? OC. How many OCs are there? OC happens to be only 1, right? And it is all pervading. So I, the Jiva, in my real nature and Ishwara in his real nature, his or her real nature is one and the same, right? So like wave is also water, ocean is also water. From the standpoint of water, right? Wave and ocean are one. Superficially looking, wave is not ocean, ocean is not wave. So they appear to be different, right? But from the essential nature, basically, both of them are water only. So therefore, Jiva and Ishwara are same or different. If we ask this question, it depends on the angle from which we are looking at the nature, right? From popular and superficial angle, they are different, right? From a higher plane, they are the same, right? So RM angle, Jiva and Ishwara are different. RC angle, Jiva and Ishwara are different. From OC angle, Jiva and Ishwara are not different. So Bheda is also there, Abheda is also there, right? So what is the real nature? Whoever has understood the oneness, right? That is why in Shastram, they present it in two Sanskrit sentences. The first is called Dasoham, right? Dasaha means what? I am the servant of God and I'm only a small aspect and God is so big, right? This is from the RM standpoint, Dasoham. RC standpoint also, Dasoham. When you come to OC, right? You don't say Dasoham, you say Soham. Soham means God is me. God and I are essentially the same. So we have to start with the superficial knowledge of ourselves and knowledge of God. But later we have to come to the real nature, which is Soham, which is Ishwara, who is original OC, and I, the Jiva, who is also original OC, are both one and the same. Okay? So Dasoham is the starting point. Soham is the concluding point. So Dvaitam is the starting point. Advaitam is the culmination point. So Bhedaha, the difference, is the starting point. Abhedaha, the non-difference, is the culmination. So every spiritual seeker must travel from Dasoham to Soham, Dvaitam to Advaitam, Bheda to Abheda. Now, a person can ask, if I remain in Dvaitam permanently, what will happen? Should I really come to Advaitam? Can I remain in Dvaitam? So the author here says, as long as you are remaining in Dvaitam, you are not recognizing your real nature. You are only associating yourself with the superficial nature, which is RC and RM. So you will continue Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, right? Jatare Shayanam, Iha Sansare, Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare, Bhaja Govindam. That's what Shankaracharya says. He wants you. He says, if you are in Dvaitam and in Bheda, in finitude, you will be subjected to repeated birth and death, which includes Jara, old age, and disease, right? So death also one may not be worried, but old age is something that worries everybody, disease and old age. So the whole life will be one of insecurity, and that sense of insecurity is called samsara. What will happen to me? What will happen to my spouse, my children, my grandchildren? This is the constant sense of fear, anxiety, and tension that we have. So we are born with the sense of insecurity. We keep clinging on to the mother's sari when we are babies, and this continues in different form throughout life, right? So, and half the time we are worried about children not being in the same country. What are they doing? Are they sleeping? Are they up? Right? We lose our sleep also over that, right? So constant insecurity is called samsara. And the author says that samsara will never go away until we discover this immortal self. Jnani is one who has discovered this higher immortal I, and therefore he is willing to lose the mortal one. I'm ready to lose the losable body. I can accept the losable body and I can lose it anytime, right? Without any sense of insecurity, because I have claimed my higher unlosable self, right? So the sense of security is mental preparedness to lose the losable, right? And in life, what is losable, right? Everything other than my original nature is losable, right? Basically, security, mental security or security is this preparedness to lose the losable, and that is wisdom, right? And you get total relaxation only when you claim the higher nature, right? And enjoy whatever is available when they are available. The Shastra doesn't say don't enjoy. Enjoy when they are available. Allow them to go away when the time comes. Agate swagatam kuryat, gacchantam na nivarayet. Right? And in Gita also, Krishna says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkada, agama payino nityaha, Tantitikshasva Bharata. Agama Paino and Painaha Anityaha. So understand this nature of world and learn to prepare your mind. Only mental preparation, right? If, through this knowledge and awareness is the solution, right? That is the biggest gain from this knowledge. Jiva Ishwara Aikyam Jnanam, which is the knowledge of reality, right? That is the topic basically here. So in this chart, if you see, RM, RC and OC, when you look at the three from the causal body angle, the Jiva is called Prajna, right? This one. From the Sukshma Sharira angle, it is called Taijasa, and from the Sthula Sharira angle, it is called Vishwa. So similarly, on the Ishwara side, if you see the RM, RC, OC combination at the Sthula level is called, Sthula Prapancha level is called Virat. At the Sukshma Prapancha level is Hiranyagarbha, and it's called Antaryami at the Karana Prapancha level, right? You must also remember that, so that we don't miss this, the Karana Prapancha and Karana Sharira, this aspect is what we refer to as Maya, right? So don't think that that is something separate from this. This is Maya, the causal bodies and the causal world. Basically, Karana Shariram is also part of Karana Prapancha. So Karana Sharira, Karana Prapancha is basically Maya, right? So this part is the Jiva and this part is the Ishwara. So Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha, Virat is Ishwara. Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna is Jiva. So now coming back to the text which we can go through quickly. Brahma Pratibimbam Jivanamakam Bhavati. Brahman meaning OC, Pratibimbam meaning reflected consciousness. Now you'll be able to relate much better. So reflection of Brahman, the RC Jivanamakam Bhavati is called Jiva. RC will never exist independently. RC will always be associated with the other two. RM must be there, OC must be there. It is always sandwiched between RM and OC, right? So this triad is called the Jiva. And even though we say RC is Jiva, we can understand the triad is Jiva because RC is always along with the other two. We refer to the RC as Jiva, but remember that RC can never exist without association with OC and RM. So Jiva Namakam Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. This Jiva has got an option. Claiming I am the OC, which is the essential nature, I can claim my eternal nature, or because of inborn self-ignorance, right? You can claim instead of, for instance, all of us are born with self-ignorance or various ignorance. We don't know mathematics, we don't know physics, etc. Through knowledge, all this ignorance goes one by one, right? So this is self-ignorance, ignorance of my essential nature, that I have three components of which two are mortal, one is immortal. I never learned. Therefore, that ignorance is preserved. As long as this self-ignorance is there, I am going to mistake myself as the body. Therefore, author says, Thula Sharira Abhimani, this Jiva identifies with the mortal body, mind, etc. And because of this wrong identification, right, with the mortal component, Saeva Jiva, and this mortal Jiva, the dying, being born Jiva, the finite Jiva, right, is a miserable mortal Jiva, right? So basically, Prakritya Saeva Jivaha Prakritya Swasmat Ishwaram Vinnatvena Janati, right? So because of the natural ignorance, Prakritya means Mula Vidyaya, because of the natural ignorance, it is treating itself to be different, right? Swasmat Ishwaram Vinnatvena Janati. He learns about Ishwara from the scriptures. Otherwise, he doesn't know about Ishwara. Modern science will not talk about Ishwara, right? So that is why you see so many people are atheists today, because science can never speak about Ishwara, right? So there are few who accept or some who accept the scriptures as a valid source of knowledge and come to know about Ishwara. Thus, Jiva, Jagat, Ishwara, and as Jiva and continuously facing problem and being with limited knowledge and powers most of the time, I feel helpless, right? My children don't listen to me. I have problems everywhere, etc. Right? So I am definitely made to feel small because of ignorance. I'm also facing problems, right? And I identify with the Stula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, etc. And therefore, Swasmat Ishwaram Bhinnatvena Janati. I am different. World is different. Ishwara is different. That attitude is called samsara, right? So therefore, I am a temporary mortal human being. I am different from Ishwara, is the feeling that the Jiva has. Okay. Avidya upadi san atma jivaha iti uchyate. So what is the definition of Jiva? Avidyopadihi san atma jiva ityuchyate. The word avidya means karana shariram, right? In the definition of karana shariram, we use the word, right? So jiva ityuchyate. So in our language, RM, RC plus OC is jivaha. And what is Ishwara? Mayopadihi san, right? Maya, upadi means the reflected medium, right? So Maya refers to the Karana Prapancha, and which includes Sukshma and Stula Prapancha, having that Aram, right? The Atma, meaning the same OC with that Aram, Ishwara Ityuchyate. Aram plus RC plus OC at the micro level is Jiva, and at the macro level is Ishwara, right? So only in RM and RC there is this macro and micro difference. Therefore, Ishwaraha iti uchyate. Evam upadi bedat jiva Ishwara beda drishti yavat paryantam tishtati tavat paryantam janma marana adi rupa samsaraha na nivartate. Basically, there is difference only in upadi. Evam upadi bedat, right? So the difference is actually only in RM. There is no difference in OC. Because of this superficial difference between Jiva and Ishwara, Jiva, Ishwara, Bheda Drishtihi. When a person concludes Jiva and Ishwara are really different, right? If they are superficially different, no harm. But when a person concludes that Jiva and Ishwara are really different, right? That is when the problem comes, right? Yavat paryantam tishtati. As long as one thinks the difference is real, tavat paryantam, so long, janma maranadi rupa samsaraha, the problems of insecurity in terms of, right, punarapi jananam manam will never go away, right? So whether it is money, possessions, as Swamiji often puts it, he calls it pancha anatma, my body, my mind, right? Then my family, my possessions, and my profession. Problems will always be there with one or the other of the pancha anatma, right? So those wise people, without any security, they don't have money, they don't have family, they don't have anything, right? Sannyasis, just a lot of people who just go from place to place. Without anything, they have no fear of old age, disease, and death, etc. Right? For them, Vidyadanam Sarvadanat Pradhanam. The wealth of spiritual knowledge is the real wealth which saves a person from all emotional problems of anxiety, fear, etc. Therefore, if you want that, which is called moksha, moksha meaning freedom from the sense of insecurity, you need to assimilate this knowledge. Self-knowledge gives liberation or immortality, right? And in religious language, the immortal one is called God, right? So who is given a temporary form. Once you come to spirituality, that God who is given a temporary form and understood as Atma, which is all-pervading, that's all. So to have a form is to have a boundary and to limit. God in his original nature is not a formed entity, but the formless Chaitanyam, that's all. So thus we have to come from Jiva to Ishwara to Atma, the all-pervading Chaitanyam, one day or the other, right? So freedom from samsara requires this knowledge. And as the Shastras put it, there are enough chances, right? Try as much as you can. And when this knowledge becomes firm and you can claim the Aikyam, fine. Otherwise, no problem. You can continue Janma after Janma and refine in each Janma a little bit, right? So with this, the author concludes the fourth topic, basically. Tasmat karanatna jiva ishwarayoho veda buddhihi svikarya. So because of these reasons, as long as you see the differences, there is samsara, and when you see oneness, there is moksha. So therefore, it says you should not see the difference between wave and ocean, right? Basically, Jiva and Ishwara, don't see the difference. Both are one Atma only. Continuing. Nanu sahankarasya
Nanu sahankarasya
kinchijñasya jivasya nirahankarasya
kinchijñasya jivasya nirahankarasya
sarvajñasyeshvarasya tattvamasiti mahavakyat katamabheda buddhihi syat.
Sarvajñasyeshvarasya tattvamasiti mahavakyat kathamabheda buddhihi syat.
Ubhayor viruddha dharmakrantatvat.
Ubhayor viruddha dharmakrantatvat.
Iti chenna.
Iti chenna.
Sthula sukshma sharirabhimani tvam padavachyartaha.
Sthula sukshma sharirabhimani tvam padavachyartaha.
Upadhi vinirmuktam samadhi dasha sampannam shuddham.
Upadhi vinirmuktam samadhi dasha sampannam shuddham.
Chaitanyam tvam padalakshyartaha.
Chaitanyam tvam padalakshyartaha.
Evam sarvajñatvadi vishishta ishvara tatpadavachyartaha.
Evam sarvajñatvadi vishishta ishvarastat padavachyartaha.
Upadi shunyam shuddha chaitanyam tatpadalakshyartaha.
Upadhi shunyam shuddha chaitanyam tatpadalakshyartaha.
Evam cha jiveshwarayos chaitanya rupena bhede badhaka bhavaha.
Evam cha jiveshwarayos chaitanya rupena bhede badhaka bhavaha.
So the teaching of Jiva Ishwara Aikyam is originally occurring in our scriptures, right? Called the Veda. And Veda, we do understand that the human beings cannot directly assimilate this knowledge. So like any advanced subject, like whether say physics, chemistry or economics, no child can be directly sent to PhD, right? They have to go through LKG, UKG, then schooling, undergraduate, graduate, etc. Only after a lot of intellectual preparation, they can go to the advanced subject matter. Similarly, this subject also, namely Jiva Ishwara Aikyam, is a very profound and subtle teaching, and no human being can directly receive it and digest it, right? So Jiva Ishwara Aikyam is a profound spiritual equation. Veda understand that it requires a lot of preparation. And if Veda keeps this teaching only at the last part, fag end, which is called Vedanta, right? So that is why in our culture also, when somebody talks something which nobody can understand, they say, oh, you're talking Vedanta, because it is too profound. And therefore, Veda says, don't start with this equation. Initially, may you entertain superficial difference, like telling an LKG child, oh, that's a wave, right? And this is an ocean and there's a wave that is coming, etc. Right? And the wave is born, gone, etc. Right? So for an LKG person, that is how you talk about, right? So Veda has to start with the difference only. So Veda starts with the difference. It has got a huge karma kanda, the ritualistic portion, which talks about the difference between Jiva and Ishwara, and asks the Jiva to worship God. It says, it encourages, please worship God. Ishwara is worshipped. So the Bheda Bhavana is encouraged, right? Thereafter, it talks about Upasana or meditation. There also Veda talks about you are the meditator Jiva and Bhagavan is the meditated Ishwara. Shantakaram Bhujaga Shayanam Padmanabham, right? Suresham. May you meditate upon Ishwara. So the Veda starts with the Bheda, accepting the superficial angle, because that alone an initial, basically a person in the initial days, right, is able to understand, right? And it gives varieties of spiritual sadhanas called karma yoga, which is not at all talked about in Tattvabodha. Because why? The Tattvabodha author assumes that we are all graduate students. Whereas Veda talks about or elaborates karma yoga sadhana, which is elaborated in Bhagavad Gita. A lot of chapters are dedicated, and you can see a lot of verses are karma yoga verses. Okay. So a lot of karma yoga for years and decades of upasana, meditating upon Panchabhutani. We start with Prithvi upasana, then Jala upasana, then Agni upasana, so that the mind gets subtler and subtler and subtler as we go towards Vayu and Akasha, right? So finally, with a prepared mind, the Upanishad asks to shift the attention from the visible body, from the experienceable mind, right? From the experienceable thoughts. The Veda Antabhaga asks us to shift the attention to the consciousness principle, which is not a part, product, or property of the body, right? And the formless consciousness goes beyond the body, it pervades the body. The mind has to conceive the inconceivable Chaitanyam. And once I have come to that Chaitanyam, the Upanishad says, do not stop with understanding the consciousness principle. You have to learn to claim, I'm not the body, I am the consciousness pervading the body, right? So it's exactly like, very interesting, when Swamiji first showed this, I didn't even relate. He showed his hand like this and he said, what can you see? Are you seeing the hand? Are you seeing the dot, the speck in the hand? Are you seeing, oh, okay, one finger is longer than the other finger? Is that what you're seeing? Right? So there's hardly anybody who says, no, I'm actually seeing the light that pervades the hand, because of which I'm able to see the hand, right? So the shifting of the attention from the formed hand to the formed light, right? Which is not a part, product, property of the hand, but it's an independent principle which continues to exist even when the hand is removed, right? So we are asked to meditate on the light principle. So in Vedanta, two meditations are repeatedly stressed. One is Prakasha, light meditation. The other one is Akasha, space meditation, right? Very subtle, both of them are. So after meditating on that, right, saying consciousness is very similar to space, our mind gets ready for that, right? Then I say that I am consciousness with an incidental body, and keeping the body itself, I have to practice claiming I am the formless consciousness behind the formed body. I'm the non-arriving, non-departing consciousness, right? In which the arriving, departing body, right, comes. So that is a very big shift, right, in our thought process. So the teacher says, Tattvabodha, you are that. The teacher says that the word you refers to the light-like, space-like consciousness principle. That OC, you, is none other than Bhagavan, who is also essentially OC. Now here the student has missed the bus, right? How can I ever claim Aham Ishwaraha Asmi? Isn't this ridiculous? You will see most Vishishta Advaitins and Dvaitins will ask that, how ridiculous, right? How sacrilegious it is to claim Aham Ishwaraha. So this is the objection from the student who has basically missed the teaching of Tattvabodha somewhere. It is very closely developed, Tattvabodha, if you see. So now the student asks, Nanu, oh teacher, how can I accept this Vedantic teaching? Sahankarasya kinchigyasya jivasya. This jiva is a finite entity, right? It's clean individuality, right? And the poor teacher is assuming that the student is at OC level. The student is very much sitting at the RM and RC level. Kinchigyasya sahankarasya sahankaraha. With an individuality, which is my biography. I am a daughter, I am a wife, I am a mother, etc. Right? So there is a qualified worldly identity, right? So when you meet somebody, you say, I am so and so, etc. And men also in our tradition say Abhivadaye, and full lineage is listed, right? So the Gotra, etc. So that is the finite identity, and that has been reinforced so much over the lifetime, right? For 30 years, 40 years, he doesn't know this branch at all of study, Vedanta, Kinchigyasya, right? So intellectually finite, right? And what about Ishwara or Bhagavan? The scriptures describe Bhagavan as Ananta, an infinite, omniscient, omnipotent, Nirahankarasya, Sarvajnasya, Ishwarasya. Here the word Ishwara means Bhagavan, right? And Ishwara is not Shiva here. Huh? We must be careful. Sometimes especially in Tamil Nadu, we use Ishwara and Shiva as equivalent, right? Here we are talking about the Ishwara who is not just Shiva, just what we just discussed as Ishwara, right? So in Vedanta, it refers to the superior, all-inclusive Bhagavan. So Nirahankarasya, the one who has not got an individual identity, but totality, and Sarvajnasya, who has got total knowledge, right? He's the creator of the universe. Sarvajnasya, Ishwarasya, between two diagonally opposite entities, Katham Abeda Buddhi Syat. How can I say that both are same, right? So that is why people get very disturbed by the word Advaitam and Advaita Jnanam. How can there be Advaita Jnanam, Mahavakyam, because of the Vedantic teaching? How can it say Tatttvam Asi, right? So Tat means that God, Tvam means you, the student. God and you, the student, are one and the same, is the teaching, right? Occurring in the Samaveda, Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, right? So the teacher Uddalaka and the student is actually Shvetaketu, the son, the father and son are having a dialogue, and Veda reveals the teaching through the father-son dialogue, and Vedanta is full of dialogues, right? So there he says, Tat Tvam Asi. This is a Mahavakyam, and how can I accept Advaita Jnana? My intellect strongly resists this message, and the student gives the reason also. Ubayoho Viruddha Dharma Krantatvat, because both of them are endowed with Akrantam. Here means endowed with Viruddha Dharma, opposite attributes. And the opposite nature indicates one is Sahankara and Nirahankara, with ego, right? Without ego, or finitude, without individuality. That's a better translation. Similarly, Kinchijna, meaning limited knowledge. And Ishwara is Sarvajnaha, means limitless knowledge, right? So, what has the student missed? We were asked to shift from RM and RC to OC. The student has missed that, right? So, a very important point here. So, he is still in the RC RM differences. And at that point, maybe he missed the class or his concentration was not there. He has not shifted to the OC, right? So, iti chenna sthula sukshma sharira abhimani tvam-pada Vachyartha. The brightened yellow ones are very, very critical concepts in the Vedanta, right? In fact, we are going through an advanced text now called Vichara Sagara. So much of discussion around Vachyartha and Lakshyartha, very, very interesting topic. But here, of course, it is just a very small introduction. So, here, what does it say? When we use the word I, there is a common universal meaning. When normally a person says, I am attending this class, he refers to the body along with the RC. Therefore, common meaning or direct meaning of the word Jiva is RM and RC part alone, which is called Vachyartha, means common meaning or direct meaning. And the common man doesn't know that there is an OC at all. So this has to be grasped after a long study of scriptures So Tvampada Vachyartha, the superficial meaning, right, is just the body mind, right? So whereas there is another meaning also, right? So what is that? Upadi vinirmuktam, excluding the RM part, excluding the RC part, not physically, but by discerning. Exactly like when I asked you to just shift your attention to the light of the hand, right? And I said light is all pervading. Exactly like that, shifting the attention to Upadi vinirmuktam, after excluding the RM. Upadi is RM and RC. Samadhi dasha sampannam. Here Samadhi dasha means jnanam here. So when the knowledge and enlightenment happens at the time of grasping the teaching, when the student grasps the teaching, right? That Shuddha Chaitanyam, pure consciousness, which is called OC, that is Tvampada Lakshyartha. So it is the Shastric meaning of the word you at the time of Mahavakyam. So when the teacher in the class says you are Brahman, at that time, the word you refers to OC, and even in common parlance, right, when we say you're fat, you're lean, etc., you're meaning only the physical body. And when you say calm or intelligent, we are meaning the Sukshma Sharira, right? There is a difference. So contextually or changing the meaning. Similarly, in Mahavakyam, context, the word you should not refer to the body, mind, and not prana, not even thought, but it is the OC, the consciousness. So from that angle, if you look at the teaching, there will be no problem. Similarly, Ishwara also, right? If you look at it from a different angle, then you will see the same kind of interpretation, right? So, evam sarvajnatvadi vishishta Ishwaraha tatpada vachyartaha upadi shunyam shuddha chaitanyam tatpada lakshyartaha. Similarly, the word Ishwara or God also has a superficially, generally, widely used, right, meaning, which is the aram, right? It has the stula sukshma karana prapancham and the macro reflection, and it is endowed with noble attributes. Kalyana guna sampannaha, they refer to it as sarvajnatvadi vishishtaha, right? The RM and RC mixture is endowed with superior attributes, omniscience, omnipotence, etc. And tatpada vachyartha is the superficial common meaning taken by the people. And that is when they do Ashtotra, Sahasranama, Archana, etc. We are referring to the Vachyartha, right? But Vedanta is giving a shocking information. The superior attributes also is a distorted version only. It can only belong to the RM and RC. OC is Nirgunaha. It does not have any attributes. So that is the revelation that Vedanta makes. OC doesn't have superior attributes also. Then what attributes does it have? It has no attributes. So Shvetashvatra Upanishad says, Eko Deva Sarvabhuteshu Guraha Sarvavyapi Sarvabhutantaratma Karmadhyaksha Sarvabhutadivasaha Sakshi Cheta Kevalo Nirgunascha. Right? It is Nirguna. The OC transcends all the relative world of good and bad, and good and bad belongs to the relative plane only. Right? So good is not bad, bad is not good. But as long as you're in the relative empirical plane, you will be limited by all these things. Moksha is basically transcending the relative plane and going to the absolute reality, which is guna dosha atita. Basically, dharma adharma atita. Beyond all the gunas, nirgunam brahma. That Ishwara is his original nature. Right? Nirguna Chaitanyam is the original nature. And from that angle, both are one and the same. The example we normally give is, there's a screen in which a movie is being shown, right? And there is a clean street in a movie being shown. And there is a dirty street also with all kinds of, dirt and gutter and everything. The screen accommodates both the clean and the unclean street. The screen is beyond both of them, neither affected by the purity of the street, nor affected by the impurity. It transcends both. So therefore he says, Sarvajnatvadi Vishishta Ishwaraha Saguna Ishwaraha Tatpada Vachyartaha Upadi Shunyam, separated from the Upadi, right? Shuddha Chaitanyam is absolute consciousness. And that is Tattvada Lakshyartaha, the implied meaning or the contextual meaning. So once you understand this absolute consciousness, then you have no difficulty in assimilating the Mahavakyam. The mind has to be ready. So what does the Upanishad say? As long as you're not able to accept this, go back to Karma Yoga, accepting Jiva Ishwara Veda. Then you slowly come to Upasana Yoga. Then you move on, right? Keep on attempting, right? Until you reach a stage where the mental refinement is such that you can accept the Mahavakyam without any resistance, right? Until then, the preparatory disciplines, the 4Ds, the Sadhana Chatushtayam, the Shravana Mananam should continue, right? And that is very important, and you have to continue until the Mahavakyam smoothly enters and one can claim Aham Brahmasmi, right? So we'll stop here. And just a point to note here, there's so much of discussion on the direct meaning, indirect meaning. Very, very interesting portion. In fact, just to give you an example, even in English, we actually have these and we don't notice this. And it is very, very interesting that Shastra points out that it says, there are 3 types of Lakshanas, it says, right? And it is very interesting. It says, when somebody says, say, Gangayam Gramam, right? Basically, it is, you are giving up part of the meaning there, right? It is not a Ganges village. The village cannot sit in the flowing waters of the Ganges. So what do? You give up that flowing part and then you say it is on the banks of the river Ganga, right? So there are different types of Lakshana. The Shastra talks about it. And it says that there is another Lakshana where you totally give up the primary meaning and you're looking at something else. For instance, there is a very famous verse which says, famous quotation says, Shoni Davati. Shoni Davati means red gallops, right? So what red? It is referring to the red horse. So red runs literally it is red runs, but it is actually referring to the horse. So similarly, there is another Lakshana called Bhagatyaga Lakshana, which is what we employ in Tattvabodha Asi. Basically, what we do is, the example given in the Shastra for this, and we can use our normal day-to-day example. 30 years back, suppose you took a picture and you are there in that picture, and your friend comes and says, hey, you are there, right? You are not there in that picture actually. So what are we doing in our mind? We are taking away the age part, the time part, the thin part, the structure part, everything, but still claim that that person is me in that picture, right? So that is Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Lots and lots of discussions are done so that people are able to understand the Mahavakyam and the intent of the Veda, how it communicates this, etc. It cannot be obviously covered in this session, but I just wanted to give you a snippet of how deep Vedanta is. So we'll stop here. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Just before I get into the questions, in the last class, somebody had mentioned about this samashti, right? It is in the context of samashti prana that this word was used. Krishna Prasad had asked. So basically, from all the 5, right, the samashti tattvam, the prana emerges. That is what it was, that context in which it was said. So I don't want you to get confused in any other way here, right? And I also wanted to say that Dvaitam and Vishishtadvaitam, you would have got some level of high-level understanding today. We will also speak more about it as we go along. And the other question was, somebody asked, what is this Lam Prithvi and Ham Akasha, etc.? They are called seed letters in the Shastra, but it is not in the purview of Vedanta. It is Karma Kanda. Okay, now we can take questions. And if people have questions, they can raise them. Yogi, please go ahead.
Namaste, Mahodaya. Just a curious question, Mahodaya. If a Madhva Matadipati like, say, Raghavendra attains Samadhi, now I don't know whether we would have called him Jivan Mukta while he was alive, and he attained Samadhi. But in the context of Advaita and Dvaita, how do we see the Dvaita Acharyas who actually attain Samadhis, or I don't know whether my question makes sense. Yeah,
No, it makes sense. Basically, we don't have any opinion on that, because as I told you, we accept Vishishta, Advaita, Dvaita and all, exactly what I explained now. We say, okay, fine, this Janma or next Janma. So when we say that they have attained Samadhi, they treat it as being one with God, and for us, it is Jivan Mukti while living itself. We are saying that we are associating ourselves with Brahman. So that's the difference, right? So we just treat their Samadhi as being one with God as they feel. That's all. And we accept going a Krama Mukti. No, I don't want to speak about Krama Mukti and confuse people. When I come to Jivan Mukti, I'll explain about that. So in our parlance, it will be Krama Mukti. That's all.
Dhanyawad.
Yeah. So Vasudev ji, please go ahead.
Namaste, Mahodaya.
Namaste.
One observation and one question. Very well explained, very understood well. Mind has to conceive the inconceivable. I think that's what we have to do. You mentioned about some lakshanas like bhaga tyaga lakshana. So could there be a list of those just for our understanding?
I didn't get your last sentence.
Yeah. Could we get a list of those lakshanas for our understanding?
If you're interested, I can send you my notes from Vichara Sagra, but it's very advanced. But I can send it to you. That portion alone you can read. Jahati Lakshana, Ajahati Lakshana, and both together that's called Jahan, Ajahan Lakshana. So that is what is Bhagatyaga Lakshana. I can send it to you. I'll mail it to you.
Okay. Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad. Krishna Prasad Mahodaya, go ahead.
Namaste, Bhagini. So my questions are from the context of the triad that we discussed, OC and RCs, Brahma, Paratma, Jiva and Ishwara. We saw the two definitions. One is Avidya, Padi, San, Atma, Jiva iti uchyate. The other one, which is Maya. San, the Atma seems to be correct. Even in the text, it says Maya Upadisan Atma Ishwara iti uchyate. So even in the text, in the Pada Cheda, Atma Maya Upadisan Ishwara iti uchyate.
Yeah, I saw that. But what happened was, I realized that even in the word meaning, they've dropped this. So maybe there is a difference in the rendering itself, the reading itself. That's all. But it's a small difference. That's why I spent some time. But it's fine. We can leave it at that.
Okay. So we can interpret both as correct. Maya,
yes, because that is what I was seeing. In the word-to-word meaning, it was missing. So that is the reason why there must be two different readings itself. So basically, Atma, yeah, it says San Atma, Ishwara Ityuchyate. It's okay. No problem.
Okay. So my next question is again from the Brahma, Jiva, Ishwara triad. We say the definition, maybe we'll have a long, big discussion about Jiva, Ishwara, Aikyam, right? So, Evam Upadi Veda Jiva, Ishwara, that sloka. So, if you limit the discussion to just Jiva, Ishwara, Aikyam without the context of Brahma in the picture, we are still in the domain of Maya, right? So, it at best looks like a Vishishtadvaita to me, to my limited understanding.
If you do not have Brahman, yes.
So, why is, of course, in the light of the last sloka, we are saying Upadi Shunya. where I think implicitly we are talking, bringing
We
in
don't accept the Kalyana Guna. That is the thing.
So Jiva Ishwara Aikyam, my question is, Jiva Ishwara Aikyam, is it enough to have the big picture of Brahma and Brahman or the OC without bringing in that discussion? Jiva Ishwara Aikyam looks limited. That's what I was trying to understand.
Yes, absolutely. Because Brahman comes in, it is at a very different plane. Otherwise, it will only be Vishishtadvaitam. So the closest that the philosophy that gets it to us is Vishishtadvaitam.
So if when we say Jiva Ishwara Aikyam is enough to get out of samsara, is that?
Yeah, only thing is the Dasoham Bhavana doesn't go right in Vishishtadvaitam. I am small feeling is always there. That is the difference.
Okay.
You got it? So
Yeah,
that's
I need to, of course, as you said, I need more deep study and understanding.
Right.
So I don't think I've completely understood that front thing, but I think
correct. No, it takes time. Yeah, it takes some time. And so
Yes.
in Vishishtadvaitam, you're still keeping God as in an exalted position and the person who has all the Kalyana Guna, and I'm one miserable Jiva who needs help, and this Jagat is all the time battering me and I need your help. That feeling is there.
But that is Dvaita, right? Vishishtadvaita is a...
No.
You accept
This part both are same. What do we finally say in Vishishtadvaita is I am part of God, right? And I'm going and attaching myself to God. That's all.
But yeah, even keeping aside the Dvaita, the Vishishtadvaita, I'm just limiting the sloka, within the sloka itself. Jiva Ishwara Aikyam is not a necessary and sufficient condition for samsara vimukti. That's what I was trying to get.
Yes. You have to equate it with this.
Sure.
Aham Brahmasmi is required.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, was it Kishore Acharya who spoke or? Kishore Acharya? You just spoke? Okay. Narayanan Ramaya?
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
And
Yeah, you're audible. Please go ahead. No, I can't hear you.
Madam, I have finally unmuted myself, Kishore Acharya.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, please.
My question is this. Actually, is there any real need of the Ishwara? I mean, we do not really care about Virat, or we really do not care about the Hiranyagarbha. So if it is not needed, so really do we need Ishwara? All we need to do is that understand the Aikyam, that Aham Brahmasmi. So why do we need the Ishwara?
Yes. There are very few people, a very small, extremely small percentage of people who have gone through the spiritual journey in the previous Janma, like these great Atmas like Ramana Maharishi, etc., who have complete Chitta Shuddhi, mental refinement, that the Mahavakyam will help them immediately. The normal people, as Swamiji puts it, the Jignasu Bhakta, in Gita, we speak about various kinds of Bhaktas, Artha Bhakti, Artharthi Bhakti, Jignasu Bhakti, Jnani Bhakti, right? So the people who come to that Jignasu Bhakti, that is interested in spiritual learning itself, is a very small percentage. And even in them, we do not have the mental refinement. For mental refinement, for Chitta Shuddhi, we have to start out with Ishta Devata Bhakti, and then go to Aneka Rupa Bhakti, and then go to Vishwarupa Bhakti to Arupa Bhakti. There's no shortcut. It doesn't happen otherwise. There may be one odd person, I'm telling you, even in this group, who has already understood Mahavakyam and has said, oh, I don't need anything else except Nididhyasanam to just remove my habitual problems. That's it.
So actually, then these are the aid to achieve the final goal.
Absolutely. Moksha is what you're working for. The four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha Purushartha, ultimately a human being's life is meant for that. But many of us don't even know that there is such a goal, and we go.
I see. So it's actually due to the kripa that to help the jiva, it's by kripa that the need of the Antarjami and the Virat and Hiranyagarbha.
Absolutely. Only because we have to exhaust our karma, there is Ishwara as Adhyaksha. Ishwara will not be able to survive if the karmas are not there. Jivas are the one who have contributed to the Ishwaras having to, administer the karmas.
I see. Because they are the samashti of all the summation of all the jivas.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Okay.
Thank you.
Now let's move on to others. Mala, please go ahead.
Namaste, madam. My question is like this. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna about, many of these philosophies, right? He's explaining about, soul, Atma, Jiva, and, even if they are your relatives, they're all Atma and so on. So does this fall under Dvaita still, or does it actually also cover Advaita in the sense, in Advaita we say Aham Brahmasmi, but in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will reveal his divine form, right? So I think it is still in Dvaita.
No, that's exactly.
I'm not sure if I'm wording my question correctly, but
no problem. This is a typical problem of students. That's not an issue. I've understood your question. The point I'm trying to say is Aham Brahmasmi is the ultimate teaching that you have to come to. To come there, you need to get, if you remember my slide in Introduction to Vedanta, there is a path that I have put with a 3-blocker. So from Ekarupa Ishwara, you have to go to Anekarupa Ishwara to Arupa Ishwara. You can't directly jump to Aham Brahmasmi, not possible. So Krishna himself, what does he tell Arjuna? He gives all this advice and then he says, please go into karma yoga, go and fight the war. That's your karma.
Okay. Got it, man. Got it. Thank you.
Now, Revati Shankar, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, madam. Today's class was superb. Okay. My one doubt I have, it has been there in my mind for quite some time. Moksha is one of the ultimate, okay? Then where does mukti come? Mukti is an intermediary level, or is it? Does not come?
Mukti, this question we'll take it up soon. Next class we are going to discuss.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
So you've all been patient till now, so it's just another one or two classes. That's all. Then we will be able to discuss everything. Okay, Kedar Nandakishore, please go ahead. Kedar Nandakishore. Chitra, please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is, you said Jiva and Ishwara, right? The comparison. So my question is, you also said that Ishwara will not exist without Jiva. Can you explain that concept? Because
yes.
this is micro and that is macro. But when will Ishwara end? Then I'm not able to understand that concept.
Yes. See, because why did I say that? Now, Ishwara is there as the karma adhyaksha, that is the administrator of the law of karma. So if the karmas of the jiva are not there, there's no work for him.
Okay.
That is the reason.
So karma administrator means it it comes with, I mean, how is it related to Karanish? No, not Karanasharidam. I thought I'm getting confused. So
Karana
this karma
prapancha.
is,
Correct. All the karmas of all the jivas. We're going to discuss this in detail, Chitra. In the next two sessions, we will be covering that. Basically, all the karmas are there in the Karana Shariram and therefore Karana Prapancha. So it's the storehouse of all the, we will see Sanchita Karma. So that is there in the Karana Prapancha, and that is how Ishwara
and
is.
when you say the universe, it is not only Earth, right? It is the whole cosmos.
Yes, the whole cosmos. So sometimes we use the word world, universe, earth, etc., but it's actually the whole entire cosmos.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Is there anybody else? Yes, Kishori. I think I've asked everybody who has raised the hand, so there's nobody else. Let me just check the question and answers also. Yeah, clarifications on Chittam. Remember, you referred as it's only memory and Chit is consciousness. Yes, in Sanskrit, are there two different words? Yes. Chit is consciousness and Chittam is memory. Yes, they are. Okay. So secondly, whether Ishwara and original consciousness are Nirguna and Nirakara. Original consciousness is Nirguna and Nirakara, and Ishwara is basically Saguna, has all the guna we just discussed now. All the Kalyana gunas are there in Ishwara. So original consciousness is Nirguna and Nirakara. So I hope I've answered Malini Bhagini. Okay, I think there's just one person who's raised the hand. Yeah, Malini Peshwa, please go ahead.
Yes, Bhagini, you have answered. I just wanted to know whether that Ishwara is also Nirakara or it has got some Akara.
Now, Ishwara will have Akara and will have
Guna also.
No. Can be one form, can be multiple forms, can be in the form of the world, can be without form. Depending on the maturity of the person who is referring to Ishwara as Ishwara.
Oh. Okay. So all our Brahma, Vishnu, they are all Ishwaras. They come under Ishwaras.
They are all gods. We use V-O-T-S basically. All of them are different gods, and there are different levels of gods. So Indra and all are Devatas. Indra and others are all Jivas. They have all become Indra, and one day if they don't get knowledge in the Indra Loka or Swarga Loka, they will come back as Jiva only and live in Chennai along with us. Just telling you that all of them are Devatas or Jivas only. They've gone there because of some punya.
Bhagini, I understood that Devatas are okay. What about Brahma?
Even gods. Even Brahmaji himself.
Okay, even Vishnu, that means they too have a time bound.
Everybody, yes, all of them, any avatara. Only thing is their time frames are hugely different. That is the big difference. So we are not able to conceive. We think they are, permanent. Right?
Yes.
That is all. Anyway, so good. Thank you. Please, go ahead. Yeah.
One question. You said that conceive the inconceivable. So I'm just thinking what it is, because if it is already inconceivable, how can you conceive it?
That is why even words, right? Very difficult to put this concept in words. Right? Yedo vacho nivartante. Upanishad says that vacha nivartante. Even with words, you can't tell this. You cannot spell this. You have to discern. So Upanishad uses a very unique method. It keeps on saying neti, na iti. It keeps on saying it's not this, it's not that, it's not that. So you keep on negating, and then finally whatever is left, what is left? Awareness principle. Because you know that you're existent, right? You can't question that. So that awareness principle is taught as Brahman. So that is the inconceivable. Yes.
Mm.
Very mind-boggling
Thank
teaching.
you. Yeah, mind-boggling. Yeah, it is like, yeah, very nice.
Kamakshi, please go ahead. And after this, we'll close.
Madam, you said all this is based on karma, no? Then why are all not allowed to do only good karma? Why we do that bad karma and get into...
They are allowed to do bad or good karma depending on their free will. Now, there are people who do bad karmas and there are people who do good karmas. Over Anadi Kala, I think I talked to you about it. So many janmas have passed. Some have done good ones, some have done bad ones. So how do you stop them? And even now, some are intentionally doing bad karmas. Nobody can prevent. Why would God interfere?
That time they can be made to understand they are doing bad and turn them to...
Who can make them understand? Not God, right? Then he will be seen as partial. If he teaches one person and doesn't teach another person. Right? And people are also reaping what they have already done. Remember that they are exhausting their old karma.
That's why if they don't do any bad karma, then this problem will not be there.
If they haven't done any bad karma, there's no such situation like that. No. So it will always fructify something or the other. The only way to get out of this vicious circle is jnanam. We'll come to it anyway, right? Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. So anyway, we'll stop here. So we will continue in the next class. Okay, Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Bhagini.
Thank you.